and just amazing here to be like here with you guys every night. Just it's amazing to me, and I really appreciate just the responses that have been coming across. I'm grateful, and again, just much appreciation across the board. We have been talking about overall, if you're just tuning in and to this night, maybe your first night, we've been talking about just how to develop self-worth overall on a general basis. We've talked about discipline, the science of self-confidence. Yesterday, we talked about mental toughness. Today, we're going to continue that with emotional intelligence. And I really want you to pay attention to this presentation. It's maybe a little lengthy. I don't know if I'll get through all of it. If not, maybe I'll just finish it tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but there's so much great information in this presentation. I've done a lot of research just to collect this information for you, put it together, and finally give you something that hopefully can help you. It's greatly helped me to just understand myself and push me to another, hopefully my own potential, seeking my own potential. So yesterday was about the mental aspect of the cognitive narrative, and tonight we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. The cognitive narrative has a lot to do with the neural cortex, the frontal part of the decision-making part of the brain. This has a lot to do with the limbic system, and I'll show you that in terms of some neuropsychology today and how that works. So overall, what I promised you guys on a daily level, which is try to get you guys a book. And here's a book. I'm trying to show you what it is, but here's the book tonight. If you could do this and really go through this book, it's an excellent understanding of a lot of the topics I've been talking about. But this guy is like a master. He's a master within the psychological world. If you could order the book, it's an amazing book. It's an academic book, and it's something that is really you have to be in a little bit into the science, psychology aspect of it. But if you really enjoy reading, this is a great opportunity to understand yourself a little further. He does talk about self-esteem and self-confidence, self-worth. He touches on those subjects. And moving forward, guys, what I'm going to do today is give you a really good understanding of what it means to be emotionally intelligent. There's a lot to the subject, but I've kind of made it concise, and then we're going to go from there. Now, tomorrow is going to be the last part of this small little series that we have, which is about building character. So we're going to take the mental, we're going to take the emotional, and we're going to combine them and show you how that's built. And we're going to use Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi as the prime example for the ultimate character. And when the people say to him, as-sadiq al-amin, what do those two really mean in terms of setting up your personality and the construct of that? So let's move forward, guys, in terms of the intro. And what is emotional intelligence? Number one, really, when you understand this, it's just, there's a part of you that you got to understand that is there, whether you like it or not. So it's some of us, it's a lot more prevalent. Some of us, it's a little bit less. So emotional intelligence refers to how we manage ourselves and how we manage our relationships. So this is strictly talking about something that's really amazing about us is we all have to manage our relationships. We all want to connect with other people. Emotional intelligence is about that. It's about the ability to connect to another human being and how you manage these kinds of things. Now, it is, it's a profile of how strong are our strong points and weak points. So when we understand that, it's some of us are excellent and we're really amazing at doing these kinds of things. We connect with people, we know how they're feeling, and it's amazing how we can get across in terms of a conversation. And I'm going to show you how that works. But also I'm going to show you how emotional intelligence is also about your understanding your own emotionality, knowing what your own emotions are, and it has a lot to do that. Okay, it's not like IQ, and I'm going to go through a difference in a second here, which you have a score. EQ, okay, is completely different. And I'm going to take you about 4 or 5 things here in terms of what it is. Okay, so EQ is how self-aware we are. Okay, How self-aware, there's a mistake there. How self-aware you are as a person. So self-awareness, that's huge in terms of when you really want to understand yourself. So look at emotional intelligence and what it's responsible for. Second thing, how motivated you are, okay? This is also a huge part. So your own motivation stems from emotional intelligence. Number 3, how good are you at handling your feelings? Emotional regulation. That's from emotional intelligence. A lot of us, we don't connect these dots, but emotional intelligence is responsible for so many things. And I'm going to show you what happens in terms of leadership a little bit down the line if you don't have emotional intelligence, or you do have emotional intelligence. Now, how empathetic are you, and how you tune in to other people? This is the connection, the relationship connection, where you don't have to say something to someone, but you know what they're feeling, you know what they're thinking. You're empathetic and sympathetic. Now, from here, the last one is how socially skilled and able are you? Some people are just amazing at sales. They just know, they just have a knack for it. They're usually high in emotional intelligence because they know how to build rapport with people. They just know how to connect right away. And rapport builds trust. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And your character is actually the first personality that you have to sell. I mean, the first product that you have to sell. It's your character, really. Think about that. Now, let's take it a little further. Okay, this is as important as IQ. It's just as important. Please understand that. And I'm going to show you in the next slide the difference between the two in terms of how that works. So EQ and IQ, they're just as important. A lot of people, you're too emotional, or you're too this. Some people are emotional and they're high in emotional intelligence, but they don't know how to manage the emotions. So it's a mismanaged strength. Understand, if you are highly emotional and sensitive, there's nothing wrong with you. You have abilities that most of the time other people don't have. You just don't know how to manage it because your emotions can get out of whack. That means you need to download some software to learn how to cope and manage that system that's inside of you. That's all it is. And now let's move forward and let me show you a comparison between EQ and IQ. So here we go. IQ is your intellectual quotient. I make good grades and have a high IQ, okay? An IQ test. At the end of the day, it's about your cognitive ability. And I'm going to show you the difference between the EQ and the IQ. Okay, it stays the same throughout your life. It doesn't change. Your IQ from the second you're born, okay, till you die, it stays the same. Where when you get a little bit over 50, it starts decreasing a little bit because just memory structure, stuff like that. But it's agreed upon now that it's one intellect. It's just one straight. It doesn't change. Your intellectual power does not change. Number 2, academic models, really pay attention to this, guys, please. Academic models are set up for IQ and not EQ. This is why I recommend you really get some coaching in terms of understanding which power you have. If you find yourself always wanting to be around people, okay, you're extroverted, you're maybe highly agreeable, high on conscientiousness, okay, these things can tell a lot about you in terms of who you are. Let's move forward. Okay, EQ, the capacity to be aware of control and express one's emotions. It's being able to take these emotional codes, and when you're talking, not just to transfer words, but to transfer emotions into the other person's chest, and you touch their heart. That's power in terms of being able to influence and communicate. Let's say you have the truth, and you have your emotional code, which is you're empathetic, sympathetic, and you understand how the other person is feeling, then you can influence and change the person in an amazing way. And it's literally about understanding the empathetical aspect of a relationship. Emotional intelligence is the key to both personal and professional success. Guys, I'm going to repeat that. Emotional intelligence is the key to both personal and professional success. This is how important this is. It's huge in terms of your success in relationships. It's huge in terms of your success in really building a career. and knowing how that works. Let's move forward. Okay, it evolves throughout time. So look at the difference now. It doesn't stay the same. It evolves. It grows. So I had a person who's 18 today. I was talking to him on the phone, and he's having a lot of trouble, but he high rolled the whole company in sales. But he's having a lot of trouble because a lot of things are overwhelming him. High in emotional intelligence, but he's breaking down under the system. Now, I told him throughout life, what's going to happen is he's going to be able to get stronger once he's maneuvering through life. These experiences that seem so hard right now, they're going to become easier down the line. Why? Because you learn how to manage those emotions, those struggles, those internal battles, that mental storm that turns into emotional chaos. And then you build emotional cancers, then you may need surgery in terms of your own psychological and emotional state. So on that level, it grows across time. Tends to increase on average over every decade. So there's actually studies in terms of that show that it increases per decade in terms of a certain amount. In short, we call this maturity, but it's really emotional intelligence. Guys, really think about what I just said. Maturity. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he's talking about when should a girl or a woman, young woman, get married? He says, Rasulullah says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, marry them when they are mature. And I want to show you, even like, pay attention, guys, and the sisters. I'm going to show you now the difference in women and emotional intelligence and men in emotional intelligence a little bit down the line in the presentation. You can get better at EQ. You can. It's not one set state. There's actually emotional or empathy training. So you can go through that and you can become more aware. So look at it on YouTube and you'll find that. So let's look at the 5 components of emotional intelligence. Okay, I'm going to take you through this real quick. Then the next slide, I'm going to go into it. Okay. Number 1, self-awareness. Number 2, managing emotions. And guys, I always tell you guys, please take some good notes. If you could do this, these presentations will really change your life in so many ways. And it's not just because of me, it's just the information. I didn't come up with these studies. I just take the time to put them together and to give you something that makes sense, but hopefully, but at the end of the day, do that. Take some really good notes in terms of what we're going through. Number 3, it's another component is your motivation. Number 4, empathy. We're going to talk about that. I dare you today to do this in terms of empathy. I dare you to call out to the pith of your own heart and find your own voice and say to the world, I'm speaking through that voice because I'm speaking through me. I'm not going to shade my character, and I'm not going to hide from anyone. I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to be daring enough to say what is in my chest and display that to the world. I dare you to be that empathetic with yourself first, and to be that truthful and that honest. Then what? Talk to the world that way. See if you could do it. It's a very difficult thing to have one face. In one situation, we can be one-faced, no problem. We'll display who we are to the world. But in a different situation, we'll shift. Can you maintain your character where no matter what the situation is, you hold up your principles and you have one face? Can you do that? That's a very difficult thing to do. The last thing is social skills. It's about social skills. These are the 5 components. Let's go through them one by one. Okay, self-awareness, using your feelings as a guide, intuition. Guys, this, I cannot tell you how important this is for leadership. At the end of the day, your navigation system becomes in here. You'll know how to maneuver around people. You'll know how to maneuver around situations. You'll know how to take yourself to a whole nother level. It's about using your own navigation system, which is built in, by the way. You just need to learn how to use it. Most of us don't know how to use the navigation system. It's there. It's right in front of you. It's actually in you. It's already set. Now, the main thing is getting it to work right is submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. That is an amazing concept. If you truly understand what I said, you should be man arafa nafsa faqad arafa rabbah. That's Allah uses us as the criteria to get to know Him. That should give you, there's a whole nother presentation on that down the line in terms of going to the inside, to actually go towards the outside. And how to figure that out, I don't know if I'm going to do that presentation, but look for it down the line. Okay, so number one, self-awareness. Listen to how it feels, as well as to what your rational mind tells you. So it's a combination, rationality and emotions, and how do they connect? Some of us, we're split. Some of us, when we get into relationships, let's say, when we get into a relationship with someone, our mind tells us to do this, then our emotions go to the other side. We're split because we want to maintain control, because we're afraid of something. Once you line up, you feel great. Your mind is telling you the same thing your emotions are. Once you're split, it's very difficult, because then there's a battle, internal battle between you and who? And yourself, between your mind and your emotions. And when you're like that and you split, wow, it's havoc. It's really havoc. Be careful of that. Managing your emotions, okay? Do you fall in distress? A lot of us, we do, okay? A lot of us in these times, we are. There's a lot of people, guys, and I'm sorry to say, depression, every 1 out of 3 women is on antidepressant pills. That's crazy. And we're supposed to be so advanced in terms of our own humanity. Where are we really going? What's happening to our social structure? What's happening to us as people? What is going on within you as a person? Why do we lack empathy? And this, we're going to be talking about that in a second. Okay. Do you go on temper tantrums? Do you do that? Okay. Do you get yourself to such a point that when you do go on let's say you lose control of who you are, your temper takes you over? Okay. You can't manage your emotions. Number 3, do you wish to say things to people you wish you had never said? This is Imam Ali alayhi salam says anger begins with foolishness and ends with regret. So really think about that, managing your emotions in terms of that aspect. Number 3, motivation. Can you keep yourself motivated to work towards your goal? Guys, I'm a performance coach, and I deal with a lot of motivational aspects with people. When someone hits the wall, they're going 100 miles an hour and they hit a solid wall and their world just crumbles. You have to be able to pick them up and push them to the next level. How do you stay motivated in terms of that? That's a component of emotional intelligence. So motivation, think about your own motivation. That has to do with the component of your own emotional intelligence. Empathy. This is huge, guys. Knowing how someone is feeling without telling them in words. There's 4 languages, guys. I'm going to take you through this. There's a lot on YouTube, Instagram. I have Facebook. You can follow the page. There's a million things I have out there about this. Okay, being able to connect to another human being. There are 4 languages of communication: verbal, behavioral, emotional, and dress. Verbal, behavioral, emotional, and dress. There's hadiths for all these, by the way. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, and I'll give you 3 of them right now. He says, if you as a person see something being done wrong, okay, he says, first feel it in your heart, emotionally. So there's an emotional code. That's a language. People can pick that up from you. It's your aura. They can sense it. From there, he says, then say something with your tongue. That's the second language, the verbal language. Emotional, verbal, then what? Do something with your hands, behavioral. 3 languages right there. And sometimes we send conflicting messages within one statement. We can confuse someone really, really bad when our emotions are saying one thing, but our words are saying something else. So I'll give you an example with my daughter. She walks into, and I've taught her this, and she walks into the car and she looks at me and she reads my expressions on my face. She's like, what's wrong? I said, nothing. She goes to me, your words are saying one thing, but your emotions are telling me something else. That's powerful. She could pick that up and then relay that information to me. What am I going to do? Then my daughter tells me this, we have an agreement, and she tells me, please be emotionally honest with me. And then she says intention. What's your intention with that? Learning these things is incredible because she doesn't want to judge my intention and go into the world of assumptions. She wants to know what's going on with me here. And then she tells me emotional honesty, meaning don't tell me what's going on here. Speak to me through your emotions. That's powerful, guys. That ability to communicate at that level is incredible. So really learn empathy, and empathy can take you to a whole nother level where you connect to another human being. Without this, a lot of people become very lonely and they don't know what to do with themselves. Okay. The different languages, I just went through that. Okay, empathy is extraordinarily important. Guys, please, I'm not going to go into this too far, but Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, he sees a man and he's stroking his beard while he was praying. And he says, if his heart was in a state of tranquility and khushu', then he wouldn't be doing this with his extremities, meaning his hands. He read the behavioral language to understand what? The emotional language. That's how we work as human beings. But that's the power of Imam Ali alayhi salam and his emotional intelligence. Social skills, how can you handle relationships? Huge in terms of how can you deal with conflict? These are, I literally have within the book, Building Mental Muscle, I have a whole section on just dealing with conflict, what it means to go towards conflict, and what it means then after going towards conflict, mending conflict. And there's some articles on the website as well. If you want to read, guys, there's a lot of stuff on there. Guys, for me, I'm just doing everything in my power to try to give people as much as I can. I just want you to be better. I want you to do the things that will take you to your next potential in terms of who you are, in terms of what you're striving for. That uniqueness that you have is you against yourself. I just try to give you a tool so you can climb your mountain faster and you become stronger and more capable in terms of getting yourself to the next stage. That's all I try to do. And I'm trying to help myself as much as I'm trying to help anyone else. We're all trying to save ourselves at the end of the day. So let's move to the last here. I'm gonna move forward here because I don't want to take too much time. What does EQ affect? So your emotional intelligence, what does it affect? Really pay attention to this slide as well. Okay, self-confidence. Self-confidence, it affects your self-confidence. We talked about that 2 days ago. If you didn't get that lecture, go back and see that one in terms of self-efficacy, self-confidence, and self-esteem, and how they connect. And we actually have a formula in that one to find out really what your self-esteem is. And then from here, so self-confidence is affected by your intelligence. Think about that. Okay, number 2, your persuasion power. So guys, I'm going to give you some numbers and please pay attention with me. The average person has about 27 conversations per day at 10 minutes of length. If you multiply that by a year, okay, which is 365 days, you're going to get 9,072 conversations per year. The average person can influence, without the ability to have communication and negotiation skills, 2%. Think about that. 98% of your initial ideas are going to be rejected. You can only persuade at 2%. So please, please take some courses about communication. Take some courses about being able to negotiate for yourself, learning how to say no to people. All these things come from your emotional intelligence, the art of persuasion. Number 3, collaboration, knowing how to be part of a team. In terms of these, that's part of emotional intelligence. Working, there you go, collaboration with one person or multiple people. 3rd, okay, taking initiative. Guys, in terms of the business world, I've been the VP of business development for multi-million-dollar companies. And I've been for smaller companies as well. But at the end of the day, taking initiative is the first thing your superior or your authority figure in terms of your boss or anybody like that, that's the number one thing they look for in terms of you being able to take on a problem and then moving to the next stage. And I'm going to give you a little hint here in terms of if you are in the corporate world and you are in the business world, this is a trick to use. Go into that place and every time you finish something, tell your boss, tell the person, your supervisor, whoever they are, I just finished. Give your suggestions on the side in terms of solving the problem, then tell them, what's my next responsibility? Use that keyword. What's my next responsibility? You do that. You're just you're going to, trust me, just use it and watch what will happen. This is adaptation to change. Adapting to change is the ability to maneuver around difficult situation when you don't have time to think. People high in emotional intelligence can do this amazingly. They can just adapt to situations, and they love chaos. Someone who's high in IQ and low in EQ, what happens is this: they get stuck. They won't know what to do. So there are certain people, you put them in the middle of the forest, they enjoy it. They love the chaos. They love the suspense. If you're like that, you're probably high in IQ, okay? Or I'm sorry, EQ. But if you're a person, if you put them in the middle of the forest, then you freeze and you don't know what to do because you need patterns and you need organization. You have algorithmic thinking. Then you're like, oh my God, you'll be terrified. Okay, so there's a lot of patterns to this stuff, guys, in terms of once you understand your own nature, what God has given you, Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you. Okay, leading change. That's why it goes into leadership, but I'm not going to go into this any further. We'll take it to another level now in terms of your neural psychology. I talked about the limbic system, and I talked about your the neocortex, which is the decision-making part of your brain. These two things, guys, when you look at the brain, these two things, they actually connect. So this is the frontal cortex, okay, in terms of here. This is your limbic system. They actually come around, the frontal cortex comes around and it touches your limbic system. Most of the time, you have to go through an emotional aspect. So some people will tell me, and it's funny, not because of anything, but people, it's like they say, don't get too emotional with your decisions. Guys, every decision you make has emotion in it. Understand that, okay? You can't run away with this from your emotions. You can't. The reason why you go towards something and you stay away from something is because of what? Your emotional state. It's not because your cognitive power will reason, but then you ultimately make the decisions through your emotions. Now, let's move on that. Okay, so what is the limbic system? Limbic system is the center of the brain and are involved in every decision. What did I just say? Every decision, and have different principles of learning. Guys, if you're the person who doesn't like to be around people, you're probably introverted, but you can sense people, or you just want to be alone, so that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But to get yourself to another level, and if you ever want to lead, not every person should lead. Not every person wants to lead. It's essential for leadership, okay? But it has different principles. You have to learn different principles of thinking. It's not just about logic. It's great. Logic is great and you need it. But your emotional intelligence is just as important. And I'll show you how important it is down the line. Neural cortex, in terms of, this is the third key, and reasoning for decisions, okay? Here's the main thing with these two systems. These two systems exist within every person. These are universal concepts, okay? From here, this becomes so important. An effective person has both circuits working together in eloquent orchestration. Meaning what? They can control their emotions, they're wise, and they can see, they have vision, and they have the right emotional codes that push them and drive them to approach the right things and avoid the wrong things. Allah Azza wa Jal has given us rules to approach, fast, pray, and to avoid, don't gamble, don't lie, don't cheat, don't. Then he tells us, Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah gives us an emotional code, okay? I love these people. And he gives us certain things in the Quran where he says, I don't like these actions. So he gives us the emotion, the driving factor. Don't attach your heart to the wrong things and displease Allah. Because spirituality at the end of the day is Allah's pleasure. What pleases him? How can you please him? By going against his rules. So there's a good concept, and I'm just going to touch on this a little bit because it's very important, guys. But there's a concept now around that's, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. Spirituality is Allah's pleasure. How you as a person can be spiritual because you own an emotion and think that that's the connection. How do you know your emotions are correct without a guidance system? Because people get attached, and the heart get attached to the most evil of things. And that person will tell you, this is okay. I'm okay with that. So is it your thinking? Is it what you feel? أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Do you see the person who's made his Lord, meaning who is like a godly figure to him, his own desires? Whatever I feel, I do. There's no checking system of my own emotions, because what we feel, we think is true. We never check our thought process, and we never check our emotional code. And is it right or is it wrong? That is true self-development. Look inside yourself and see what's really there. But we don't really do that sometimes. And imagine when someone gets to a point, I'm just going to leave it there and we'll move forward. But the best way to learn empathy is not from a book. Please pay attention to this. The best way not to learn empathy is not from a book, okay? It's from a person who's empathetic, okay? A live demonstration. Have them teach you how to be an empath. This is huge in terms of being able to build yourself on another level. And I have like communication courses where you jump from your lens to the other person's lens, which is their mind lens, then their emotional lens. And it's incredible once you start connecting to people at that level, what kind of problems you can resolve in seconds. All right, guys, for leadership, this is a must. It's a must. Emotional intelligence for leadership is a must. It's incredible when Imam Hassan alayhi salam was standing and this person comes to him and he says to him, he starts cursing his father, Imam Ali alayhi salam. And he looks at the man and he says, you're a stranger in this land. Has anyone taken you in? You've traveled so far. You look like you're hungry. Why don't you come to my house and I will feed you and I will give you housing. A lot of us, when we get in those kinds of situations, guys, and somebody starts swearing at our father, mother, anybody, we can't respond like that because our emotions take over. And our emotional code would just seek revenge. But look at the power of the mental aspect and the controlling of emotion to respond in such an eloquent way where the person gets off his horse, says, I want to follow you, turning an enemy into a friend in seconds. The Imams and Rasulullah, the Imams alayhim salam and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, they were masters of communication. They were masters of it. Their mental awareness was impeccable. And their emotional codes in terms of approach and avoid, second to none. They're perfect in terms of their own conduct, but they have the ability to sin. So application is that wisdom of the knowledge. That's how we should be, but to be able to apply that in very, very difficult storms of emotion, and not even just storms, sometimes they're hurricanes where we can't control ourselves. That's power. When you can kind of calm yourself down, get in the eye of the storm, then respond with eloquence. Incredible. Now, let's look at males and females and how that, between men and women, comparison and IQ, or I'm sorry, EQ. So empathy, that's what we're really talking about. But really think about this. Empathy at the end of the day, okay, for females, on and managing distress, feelings in terms of that. So females, on average, women tend to be better in empathy. Okay, they tend to be better. She can, guys, like, she can sense you. The second you show a lack of confidence, let's say you're trying to get married, and I'll just give this to the guys real quick. Women seek confidence. Women can see that from a male. She can see it. You're like a book to her, okay? So I'm not telling you this to do things the wrong way. I'm telling you this so you understand how to get a good person that's gonna take care of you and get married. If you're seeking that, learn how to be confident. But confidence is an emotion that needs to be displayed inside. But once it's displayed inside, it's like you're watching a movie inside. It's like a projector. It needs to project to the inside first, then it will display to the outside, because people will sense confidence. It's not something it's something you carry with you. And when you do that, you can do it at that level. Women are amazing in terms of detecting these kinds of things. because at the end of the day, it's about a woman's security. That's what she's really looking for. She's looking for that protective person that can take care of her in terms of that way. And unfortunately, guys, a lot of, I'm not going to go there. So just maintain your confidence and do what you need to do in terms of these kinds of things. Number two, in terms of males, okay, male on average tend to manage anxiety, anger, and self-confidence better, okay? So men are more on this level, women are more on this level, but they're both needed. I'm not telling you to say this is better than this. No, they're both needed. You need to be able to do both. Now, let's move forward. How to develop EQ, okay? It needs repetition. You need to constantly be trying to feel what the other person feels, okay? You need to practice that and to sense it and to navigate through your heart, not just your mind. When this opens up and you can see through this, لا تراه العيون بمشاهدة العيان ولكن تدركه القلوب بحقائق الإيمان. Imam Ali is talking about Allah Azza wa Jal when he says the naked eye can't see Allah. It's curtailed, it's cut off. Its ability cannot do that. So it has a limit, but the heart can see Allah in terms of through true, authentic belief. So it needs practice. You need to practice it as much as possible. Number two, model someone who's an empath, okay? Someone who has high levels, let's say naturally, they have high levels of emotional intelligence and they've built it over time. So they can sense people really, really quick. But guys, there's a danger here, and I want to say it. Some of us, when we don't have the cognitive power also, and we think we're all high and wise and we're so strong that we start judging other people's intentions just because of what we feel. Sometimes we can make major mistakes there. In the Quran, it says, "Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ijtanibu kathiran min adh-dhann inna ba'da adh-dhanni ithm." Okay, oh, you who believe, stay away from assumptions, because most of assumptions is wrong, and it can lead you to sin. So really be careful with that one. It's not easy to just say, "Oh, I feel I have an emotion, and I know this is certain." No, check your vibe. This is where the mentality, the mental mind has to be what? As strong as the emotional aspect. And they're both needed, as I said. The effective person, they need to manage both. Because some of us, let's say we have a history of, let's say someone cheated on us. And what happens? Now we're trying to get to know someone and we trigger automatically that everybody else cheats. That's not the way it works. This person might not be like that. So we have a tendency sometimes to do these kinds of things, but I overall want you to trust it, but check your vibe. Check that vibe when you get it. Then test yourself over and over and over and over again. And then test yourself again. Make yourself so strong that you know 100% that when you tell someone something, it is the truth. Number three, a person, can be developed, like we said, through mimicry, where you follow someone, and sustained effort. So you have to go time over time over time again. Sometimes what we do is when we don't know our emotional code, we just say something and we just hope it sticks in terms of connecting to another person. It doesn't work. If you're guessing in a relationship, there underneath all of this, understand there's probably some principles that you guys lack. So you have to hate yourself in order to love the other person. And how much do I have to hate myself in order to love you? So how much do I have to go against my own principles, okay, in order to care for you? Because this person is against your principles. So most of the time, a toxic relationship is just a difference at the essence of the tree, which is the root. There's major problems there in terms of your main core of people as people. So there's principal issues there. All right, how does someone develop this? Guys, at the end of the day, make sure what you want to improve in is like literally where they want to go in life. Okay, does it meet their value system? Guys, if you're training someone, this is more if you're like a parent, someone that is a coach, someone that's in an authority position in terms of training others. Okay, if you are like that and you take the responsibility of someone else, you're not managing the problem anymore. That person is managing the problem. You're managing the person, and you're responsible for that person. You're responsible for what happens to them mentally. You're responsible to what happens to them emotionally. Now, let's say they make their really bad decisions on their own. That's fine. You have nothing to do with that. That's okay. But at the end of the day, you're still responsible. But the system has to match. Okay. Then an honest self-assessment. Okay, I'm going to stop here for a second, guys. Most of us, we're professional liars to ourselves. I'm just going to be very direct here. We're professional liars to ourselves. What that means is we rationalize our mistakes. We lie to ourselves mentally because we can't handle the guilt. Let's say I cheat on an exam, and I don't cheat. I have a principle not to cheat. I'm like that. I've been high in academics all my whole life, but something has happened, and I'm facing a lot of bad situations in my life and a lot of hard challenges. And now I didn't study. So I look over and I cheat. And now I feel the guilt. So when we go against our own principles, we feel the guilt. Then I either accept the truth and say, you know what? I failed here. I shouldn't have done that. Or I rationalize to myself and I lie to myself. So I either become honest or I lie. When I lie to myself, what happens? I rationalize. Say, you know what? Everybody in class was cheating. So I should cheat anyway. It's not a big deal. It's okay. This is fine. I lie to myself. And I become so good at this that the other day I was talking about your conscience. What you do if you run this on a consistent level, you train your conscience to do what? You train your conscience to lie. And if you really want to know who you are as a person, do this. The next time you don't have a chance to actually react and you're put in a very stressful situation, see what comes out of your mouth. Is it a lie or is it the truth? That means subconsciously you've trained your conscience to lie. If a lie comes out of your mouth, you've trained your conscience to lie. Say half-truths or exaggerations. Look at yourself there and see who you truly are. Discover that. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, in terms of this. Now, in terms of business, this is something that's very, very important. I want to tell you guys that, and what I'm really doing here is on this level, I just want to get you down here to the point. Guys, at the end of the day, what does it mean in terms of what do major companies look for in terms of EQ? I'm going to give you something. So let's say you're moving towards a professional level and you're trying to get a job and you're trying to see these things. So in terms of the positions that I've held, this is what we look for on a general level. So I want to equip you with this kind of stuff. So in Ramadan, you understand who you are in terms of emotionally and how you can handle and regulate your emotions. And then take yourself to a higher level when presenting yourself, because you're selling your character. It's the first product. Your character is the first product that you have to sell. And from here, here's what they look for, okay? There are three domains of ability. Number one, the cognitive aspect. Number two, which is IQ. Your technical skills and expertise. That's like learning a programmer, like learning a skill set, okay? How to draw, learning how to draw, learning how to program, like a computer programming, websites. That's technical skill. And number three is what? Emotional intelligence, a range of intelligence in terms of that. Now, watch this. What are the results? What distinguishes great performance? Think about this. From average is emotional intelligence. Okay, emotional intelligence is twice as important as IQ plus technical skills combined. This is what studies indicate in terms of leadership. The higher you go in an organization, the more important it is. IQ plus technical skills are at the base and you need them to do the job, but where people excel is EQ skills. We're never taught this stuff, guys. The reason Ramadan is here is for you to develop yourself at this level. Understand your own emotionality. Understand that voice that I told you in the beginning. Give it a microphone and let it speak. Let it say the truth for you or against you. I dare you to do that. I dare you to become so emotionally honest with yourself that your own self gets distressed when you're about to speak because you're going to put it in a situation. But regardless what it is, be wise. I'm not saying to just be foolish. No. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, I'd rather have a wise enemy than a foolish friend. Don't be foolish. On that level, understand this. I dare you to do that. I dare you to have enough guts and courage to say to yourself, no, I'm not going to do that. And this is wrong. And stop yourself before you do the wrong. Or even if you commit the sin, don't lie to yourself. And don't tell yourself, you know what, I'm okay. Or I didn't do this wrong. Or don't rationalize and lie to yourself. Don't do that. Go to Imam Ali alayhi salam where he says, Ataytuka ya Rabbi, I've come to you, Ya Allah, admitting, mu'tarifan, muniba, munkasiran, I'm broken. Submit to Allah, talk to him and tell him, help me fix this situation that I'm in. Or otherwise lie to yourself and say, I'm not in a situation, I don't need any help. One leads to growth, spiritual growth, connection to Allah. The other doesn't. It removes you away and it pushes you away from the truth and what you truly are on the inside. I dare you tonight to take a stand with yourself and say, you know what? Tonight, I'm taking over. I'm taking the control of my life. No one's telling me what to do. The locus, look into the locus of control effect in terms of the psychology there. I'm not going to get into that, but I dare you tonight to make that decision and to become so brutally honest with who you are that I don't shade my character, not to myself or other people, because I'm proud of who I am and I have high levels of self-worth. I don't need to lie. I don't need to shade my personality for anyone. Now, I'm also asking you, when you do that, be gentle, be kind, be merciful. Have a heart that doesn't judge through anger. Have a heart that judges through mercy. If you can get yourself to these stages, it's incredible what you can do. Then present the truth through wisdom. If you can do that, guys, you've gotten to a very amazing place. And the emotions you feel, not many people can get to those emotions. Emotions are earned, guys. They're not given. Emotions are earned. They're not given. Now, last thing, okay, there's a study that was done, and I'll give you an example in terms of this to prove all this is, so Davis and Heads, in terms of, it's a major corporation, and this is the findings of a global study on EQ. 500,000 people in terms of study was done. And if the heads of the division, listen to this, in terms of emotional intelligence, is strong in 6 or more EQ abilities, they perform. Their yearly revenue, in terms of when they outperform their yearly revenue goals by 15 to 20%. And if they were weak, then they underperform by 15 to 20%. That's a lot of money, because that's a lot of responsibility. At the end of the day, money, but it's responsibility. Now, imagine you want to be at this end. You don't want to be at this end. Work on yourself, guys. Man arafa nafsah, faqad arafa rabbah. Meaning, man arafa nafsah, mentally and emotionally. Your mental code and your emotional code. You have to figure those two out. Then align them with what Allah wants, not with what you want. You can be spiritual, but you have to be religious, because at the end of the day, religion is a code. It's a set of rules. Bottom line, when you're saying I'm spiritual but not religious, when you say not religious, that's a rule, meaning I don't follow organized religion. That's your rule. That's your own religion, because religion is a set of rules, but you're making up your own religion then. And you're saying, through this religion that I want to make up, that I feel these emotions towards, I'm gonna get to Allah. It's not the way Allah wants me to get to him. It's the way I want to get to Allah. So I pick and choose what I want. I'm not telling you to just stop everything in terms of your life and say, oh my God, I'm a holy roller now in terms of these kinds of things. And it's almost negative not to be religious, guys, in terms of these kinds of things. But I'm sorry. Look at religious people in terms of just like any other person. They're not better than you. They're not worse than you. They have their problems. You have your problems. Let's say you are religious. Let's say you're not religious. It's okay. Nobody's judging the next person. But at the end of the day, if people judge each other, they're judging through rules and regulations. Let's forgive each other. Let's not be people because we sin differently. I'm better than you, or you're better than me. Again, judge with a merciful heart. Don't judge with an angered heart and blameful in terms of these kinds of things. Let's look at each other and say, you know what? You're a human, I'm a human. Let's accept each other, not reject each other. And on that level, guys, please take advantage of these nights. Pray for people, stay up late, find a great book in terms of you reading something, go through a religious aspect, and try to find the truth about yourself on an internal level. Guys, tomorrow we'll be conducting the last part of the series. I hope you enjoyed the first part. I hope you enjoyed the second part. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on the third part. Take care. Wassalamu alaikum.